Hello, I'm the Smoking Cheddar, but you probably already knew that. If I look like Ernest Blowfield today and sound like him slightly, it's because I have a cat on my lap. So, naturally, we're going to go with a very devious build today. Now, it was in the comment section a few days ago where someone said, hey, is the previous Vanguard build still viable? Yes and no. All builds are technically viable depending on if you're going to use them the way that they're intended. So I got thinking since then about what builds I could do with a tank with perhaps more recent officers. And that led me down the rabbit hole of looking at the officers and their builds and what they have on offer, and then actually not coming to any sane conclusion. Hello, Stuart. Um, where are you going? Well, you don't love me. You'll fuck you too then. Sorry, the cat decided he's going to bail on me for apparently no reason. Where was I? Here. Great joke. So we're looking at a tank build today. I've called it the Crow Afternoon Cotton. And as always with these unit builds, they have a tendency to go on for a while because we're going to be looking at the unit. The unit. Hang on a second. Get the fuck out of the office, prick. Anyway, as I was saying, we'll be looking at uh, the unit itself, the officers, the tech, not in that order, the parts, and pretty much everything around the unit, and we'll put it all together at the end. We'll come up with a summary on how to use it, if it's not already apparent by that stage, and at the end after that, we'll do like a little Q&A like we always do. So this is the Crow, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you got yourselves a drink. I have a cup of tea. Make sure you got yourself a snack. I have noodles and I have some spicy rings as well to help me with just getting through life. So let's have a quick look at the unit, seeing as we're here first. So we'll be going with the Vanguard unit, and this is a all-rounder for a main battle tank, obviously. And we have the unit has armor plating and reduces the blast damage, or increases the blast damage resistance of a natural 75%. And we also get a shield upon entering combat of 1000, which we are going to use slightly. Okay, so camp bonuses for Vanguard are rapid production, enhanced firepower, which we are going to leverage, and armor reinforcement, which we're also going to leverage. So we'll just hop over to the components. That's the wrong button. Forge. Main battle tank. Filter by parts. So we only have one barrel to choose from, which is load time and firing accuracy, which is actually quite handy because this is going to play into our build. For our armor, we have HP or we have blast mitigation. Personally, for this build, I would be looking to use HP. That way we can capitalize on our shield a little bit better. We only have one engine type to choose from, which is HP and engine speed, which we've just said we need the HP. Now, for the two components here in slot 4, we're going to go with 1 HP and we'll go with 1 firepower. This is going to be a very balanced build, so just keep that in mind going forwards. Let's have a quick look at the tech. I say quick, the tech is never quick. As always with the tech, we're going to look at the advanced combat to the end of the tree, working backwards, and then the modern tree after, looking at the middle of the tree, working backwards, because we never go to the end on the modern tree because it takes too damn long, and this is supposed to be sort of like a easy to get to style build, or relatively easy to get to. Anyway, tanks. We get a natural critical strike rating of 5% and increases the critical strike damage of 50%. Normally, this is where I'd say remember that because we're going to be using it, but not today. We're not actually going to be looking into this too heavily. The two prior, the damage resistance and the damage intensity, those will become very useful, as will the tank pen damage increase and the tank firing accuracy for a change. We also have a speed bonus, but that only applies to tank super heavies and heavies, I think. HP bonus, which we will need, obviously. We get an increased firepower by 15% for 4 seconds, which again we will need. Tank damage resistance when being attacked by tanks, we will need that. We will need the artillery one. Not so much the infantry one, because not a lot of people run infantry compared to tanks. Although, if you do keep coming up against infantry blobs, do take that. And again, with the damage intensity, our main one we're interested in is damage intensity bonus versus enemy tanks, as well as the HP and the firepower, which is fairly standard stuff. So on to Modern War. Is it unmanned turrets? Tank hunter helicopters? No. Here we go. Main battle tank. It has a 40% chance to gain 5% firepower for 5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Give us another 15% in the firepower category. So that's going to be useful. Tank damage resistance when being attacked by tanks. Again, that is going to be useful for us, as is the firepower and HP. The tank pen damage is going to need to be maxed out. We're not too worried about the blast mitigation bonus, and tank firepower again, and tank HP again. So we're really focusing on just having a high amount of HP and a high amount of firepower, and we're looking at damage resistance, damage intensity, and penetration damage, because we're going to be looking towards unit damage next. So, on to the officers. And for the captain, we're actually going to be using Uncle Ivanikov. So this is a bit of a double-edged sword. The reason why we're looking for Uncle is predominantly because we have this normal attack resilience bonus, which is really, really, really good if you're doing pop-out and sniping attacks and field fighting, because a lot of the damage that's being dealt is predominantly unit damage. We also get a firepower and HP buff, and we also get a damage intensity and damage resistance buff, which plays into our unit damage build. The side note is obviously that we get a nice shield of 1800. It's now not the highest it can go. There are some up there that are 2k, but we also get this damage resistance of 15%. And we also get a skill officer resilience bonus and HP recovery bonus for the base, which is not needed for the build, but should you want to keep this build in your base or just indefinitely, this will be handy both in and out of the base solely because of this. Let's have a look at the train skills, because we want our attacks to reflect what we're driving towards. We have gone with You're on Camera, which is Vox's special skill. Whenever this troop attacks an enemy ground force troop, it has a 30% chance to inflict fatigue on the target for 4 seconds, reducing its firepower by up to 30% for 4 seconds. So you can start to see here how we're going to be exchanging rounds with enemy tanks and how we can use this quite heavily. Damage intensity. That's very important. Yes, I know. The eagle-eyed among you will notice that we're not going to be using one of our favorite tank officers for the aid. So who is the aid, I hear you say? It's Margarita, because what we're going to be doing is utilizing a few of her additional skills to fully capitalize on our ability to deal damage out in the field. First of all, we have a very nice coefficiency of 1800 on single target, which gets us a kill shot when the target goes below 75%. We get an additional 550 there. This isn't going to bring us up to the old standard of 3k, but it's going to bring us pretty close. But we also get damage intensity while out in the field. So while we're outside of the base, we get bonus damage intensity, and we also get bonus firepower. So this is really, really, really good, because this is going to play into exactly what we want, which is a field fighting tank. We have a 10% chance of reducing the incoming enemy attacks. So again, we're stacking a potential buff here that is defensive. We have damage intensity and damage resistance on the balance skill, which is perfect. But more importantly, more above anything else, we have a 75% chance of deploying either a flashbang or a tear gas grenade, which will either shock the target, causing the normal attacks to miss, or delay the prep time by up to 1 second. And this can be triggered once every 8 seconds. And you got to remember, we're in a tank. This thing's going to be firing pretty quickly, so the chances of that popping off are pretty high. So the trained in skills, we've gone for damage intensity as the balanced. Any damage intensity will do. I just went with this one because it is 10% and 10% on the damage resistance as well, and it is not unit specific. And also, we have gone for damage intensity as the offensive skill. You'll notice that neither of these have defensive skills. We only have offensive skills to go with. So, how does all of that fit together? Well, what we have is a field fighting tank, a very hefty field fighting tank with quite a bit of resilience and quite a lot of damage intensity. Now, how are we going to use this to our advantage? We've got several skills that will trigger on hit. So we're using a lot of utility, and we're relying, and this is the key point, we're relying solely on the unit damage. The skill damage is nice, but what we're looking to do is we're looking to cruise in with the Vanguard MBT, leverage that firepower, which increases the damage, unit damage, the skill damage, and also it increases your firing accuracy. And we are going to absolutely smash on targets very quickly. Thank you very much, Samvos, and to you as well, my guy. And we're looking to basically use this weapon as a pop-out attack. We can pop out of the base if we're about to be attacked. We can use the damage intensity, the high levels of damage intensity, and that utility of reducing the target's firepower, as well as potentially stunning or making the target miss. Not stunning, sorry, reducing the skill load time and making the target miss. And we're just going to constantly pop in, pop out, and plink away at targets. This tank can be used as a frontline unit. You're not going to be able to soak a base with it, but what you are going to be able to do with it is you're going to be able to drive it into an enemy formation and then have a helicopter or artillery follow up behind it. You're going to be able to have this at the front of a tank army group, and it is going to deal a lot of damage, not necessarily against fortifications, but out in the field where tank battles matter. This is going to make a huge difference, because you've got that massive shield with a lot of damage resistance buffs being popped off. And then on top of that, once you need to recall it to your base, you know you're going to be getting a skill damage reduction for attacks to your base, as well as a increased heal over time effect. So this is going to be really good for anyone looking to capitalize on a bit of freedom of movement out in the field, and just using a tank to be nasty to other people. Plus, on top of that, it's a Vanguard tank. There's a lot of skins available that we can utilize as well. Yep, we've got a lot of skins available to us that's going to give us equipped HP or equipped firepower. So we can go for either one, depending on what you're leaning more towards at the time. Personally, I'd go for the firepower because we're not really looking to absorb a lot of damage here. We're looking to deal a lot of damage. The shield is there as a simple buffer because we're utilizing, remember, we're utilizing the unit damage with this build, not the skill damage. So we need a shield officer in as the captain. That's going to give us the extra survivability that we would otherwise use. Now, arguably, that means in slot 4 under the um, uh, unit parts, we could potentially just go double firepower. But the extra bit of HP isn't exactly going to be a miss either, which is why I said either the HP or the firepower skin is going to be useful depending on where you are on the tech tree, depending on where you are in terms of allies, or perhaps other units you might have in your base. If you're a pure field fighting base, then maybe you might want less HP and more firepower, so you can bring more weapons to bear and spread that damage over more units. Maybe if you've only got the one field fighting unit for your base, the extra HP might be more viable for you. But it is a personal choice. I am not the be all and end all. These are just guide ideas, how you could potentially capitalize on stuff that's already in your arsenal. Now, these aren't even the most up to date officers. And the reason why we're not using the most up to date officers is because at the moment, none of them are actually providing the sort of skills we need in order to accomplish the thing that we want here. What we want here is a strong field based unit, which is going to have a lot of resilience, a lot of unit damage. It is going to kick hard with its skill shot, don't get me wrong. The enemy's going to know you're in the field. It's got a very hard single target skill shot. And because Margarita is in the aid slot, there's a high probability that your unit damage has pushed it below 75 at the time you decide to engage. And you've got to remember, you've got a penetration damage bonus. So up against other tanks, there's a high probability that you're going to be penning them quite regularly. Now, that being said, there is one tiny tweak you could do to this to min max it. And if we go back to this, you will lose the 30% bonus, but what you will gain is additional pen depth. Now, that's important because if you want to pen the target regularly, consistently, and continuously, this component is very, very good. And especially if we're using a lot of damage intensity and a lot of firepower. Now, obviously, we don't get our 30% bonus on our firepower damage. So if you are doing this, you probably do want the double firepower in your maintenance supply, your auxiliary slot 4. Because that's where you're going to be losing out on a lot of your damage. But that obviously comes with the cost of the fact that you're now going to be dropping HP. So this is just something for you to consider as a side note to the build. And these two officers combined, especially Margarita, very slept on officer in terms of being out in the field and dealing damage. Very, very slept on. This is just brilliant if you're looking to deal damage to enemy units. At some stage, I am going to get her awakened and I'm going to get an infantry blob together, and she is going to go in the infantry blob because, again, this ability, along with all of these others, are just fantastic to have on your infantry at any given time. So I hope you guys, I've given you something to think about here. Now, the question is, what other units do you want to see built? Oh, we haven't covered gear. We've not covered gear, have we? Holy crap. Unit gear. I completely forgot that was a thing. Well, we obviously, we're going to need to have strong amounts of unit damage. And this one's really good because we've got a tank load time reduction, we've got a troop HP, and we've got a stackable crit rate, which we can put on top. That's not particularly good for our build, but the load time reduction is nice. Damage intensity and damage resistance. This is going to be perfect on one of the officers. As is the Tiger Knuckles. We're getting a normal attack boost and a troop HP. So we probably want the Tiger Knuckles and the tactical knife as our two gear components. I'm very sorry, guys. I nearly forgot this was a thing. You have my apologies. Because we're looking obviously to utilize that intensity and the normal attack, because it's going to be pop out the base, plink plink, or chase an army, plink plink, or you get the idea. This is a high mobile attack and fire and move unit. We're not looking to sit still and deploy our skills. And if we do, we are in that situation. We've got a shield to protect us. So have we got any questions, or would anyone like to see any additional builds going forwards? For perhaps the end of the year or the new year, depending on when I get a chance to make them. Now is your time to say. If not, you'll have to forever hold your peace until the next stream. Well, I think that's covered everything then. You guys currently viewing are not particularly you're not going to ask a question, that's fine. If you think of one later, please put it in the comment section of this video or any video. I mean, I will see it. What unit did you... what unit did I just do, McLovin? Well, I just done a tank build. It's a field fighting tank. It was at the request of someone in one of my other comment sections I think it was one of the last live streams I did, or the live stream before, and I said I was going to cover it, and I have. It was a Vanguard MBT. Oh, you want to see an infantry one next? Okay, I see how it is. I see how it is. You want to see an infantry one next. I'm sure I can manage that. We'll see what's what going forwards, because obviously we now have gear to contend with, which I nearly forgot. Again, my apologies. Field fighting infantry. Oh my god. Field fighting infantry. Well, all I'm going to say is I really wish I'd recorded more PvP from the last conquest, because the field fighting infantry I had set up was absolutely just brutal. On one occasion I came up against 5 helicopters that were grouped up in an AG, and I lost like a handful of infantry. Let's see if we can find the battle report as evidence, because there's no way you would believe it otherwise. The problem is, when you're very active in Conquest, it's very you end up getting a lot of battle reports. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. 202 for 1? No. 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 I will find it. It is now my mission. My base was destroyed. Oh no, it was an army battle group. I think it was probably before that. Ah, was this it? Yeah, kind of. I feel like there was another one. I'm pretty sure there was another one. Aha! Aha ha ha! This might be it. This is not it. Fucking hell. Okay, this is just one of them. This is what field fighting infantry can do. Uh, my aide isn't even awakened, and I haven't even put gear on at this point. This, as you can see by the date, this was literally a couple of days before gear was released, and you can see here that my infantry absolutely decimated, 430 to 1. So if you want to see infantry field fighting, that, McLovin, I most certainly can provide, and I can provide it really well because I have now some pretty good battle reports of exactly that. We can see here. here's another one where I got 284 for 1, and you can see my infantry is just picking everything off in the field. This was in the middle of a massive AG. So we're using a lot of skill damage here, but we are also using just a little bit of unit damage. But this is predominantly a skill damage build. Here's another one, 684 to 127 for my infantry. SH, MBT, MBT, MBTH. This was Silver 2. RL, number of drones, infantry, and another RL. You can see we're just absolutely against the SH as well. It's not really standing much of a chance. The MBTs were getting knocked around silly as well. This guy had no damage output on his MBT whatsoever, which is something that he really did need to correct. I'm pretty sure the infantry battle I have was after that, where I took on an entire helicopter AG and just won. It's not important. The important matter is that yes, McLovin, I can provide you with a field fighting infantry, and I can do so pretty well because I can just show you my build. My build's not fully awakened yet for my field fighting, but it is pretty dangerous. So I'll work on that for the next stream. As to when the next stream is going to be, uh, probably on or around the 29th, so we can catch you guys after Christmas. I hope you all have a nice Christmas, by the way, but before the new year, because obviously that's going to be the period where most people are either off work or, like myself, are going to be working absolutely round the clock like an absolute lunatic. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream. This will obviously be going up as a VOD, so McLovin, you can come back and watch from the start again if you wish, and if you have any additional thoughts or any additional comments to make, please leave them in the comment section down below. I've been the Smoking Cheddar, and you have been very patient. As always, a link to the Discord will be in the description box down below, along with a link to my favorite charity, Cats Protection UK. Do with that information as you wish. I'm now going to go play either some more Dark Souls 3 and complete it again because that's just amazing, or I'm going to watch Jurassic Park and paint Warhammer because that's also something really cool